Welcome to Behind the Audition podcast with your host, Curt Hilton. Listen in on interviews with voiceovers, filmmakers, producers, animators, and much more. Curt, a voice actor himself, will give insider tips to the business, talk with guests about how they got into the business, and be sure to stay tuned to the end of the podcast when he challenges his guests with a pop-up audition. Now it's time for Behind the Audition podcast. Here's Curt Hilton.
Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Audition podcast. On this episode, I spoke to the amazing actor Tod Fennell. We talked about his start at an early age as an actor. We spoke about being an actor on-screen and off-screen. And we actually spoke about him getting hit during a martial arts scene in a movie. Plus, we just had a blast talking voiceover shop. So sit back and enjoy another episode of Behind the Audition podcast. All right, coming to the show, you have seen him on Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Ghost Recon. The amazing Tod Fennell. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for having me on. This is really cool.
Absolutely. So for those listening to the show on my end, we are doing both Instagram Live as well as live on my podcast. So I get to have one of the best on-screen and video games on the show today. And to start things off, how did you get into this world of acting, both on-screen and voice acting?
So I started when I was a kid. It was the three. It was Ghostbusters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Back to the Future. And I was obsessed with all three movies. And I would run around the basement and I would memorize all the lines, like every single line. I would play all the different characters. And my parents were both professional dancers, and choreographers. So for them, they were like, "Oh, he's an actor. Like this is what he should do." Like, so they asked me, like, do you want to do acting classes? And I went to Montreal Children's Theatre. And I loved it. I did a bunch of that. And then I had some casting, like massive casting calls for commercials. And I think the first commercial I got was with a chimpanzee. And it was me with a cheese string. I don't know if you guys saw that one in the States, but it was like a cheese string commercial. And I was peeling the cheese and he's peeling the banana. And like, it was cute, but in hindsight, they kept telling me, like if the chimp gets mad, he can like rip your arm off, so you got to really be careful. And I'm like, I'm 7 years old. So it's a rough entry into the entertainment industry.
Right.
So yeah, anyway. And then I did that. And then I kind of moved into, I got my first film. I was like 8 or 9. And then I started doing movies, and I got a recurring role on Lassie, which was for me, that was a really big break. Mm-hmm. We did 52 episodes. So, and I'm still in contact with the actors from that show. We're the lead who played Timmy is Corey Sevier, and we're still good friends like 30 years later or something. So that was a really formative experience. And I kind of got to learn what it was like to be on set all the time and to like live in that kind of environment. And then from there, when it came time to apply to university, I was going to go, and then I then I got another part on a TV show, and I said, okay, well, let's wait. Let's do this season, because you never know when work comes in and it doesn't. Let's do the season, and then we'll go to school. But then it went for a second season. So then at one point I said, this is what I want to do. I'm already working in it. Let me just keep doing this. So and then I just kept going, kept plugging. And then voice work, I started when I was around 20, I guess. I got my first, like, just voice only part, 18, 19. Yeah, I'd say around there. And at first, honestly, I was like, oh, advertising, like, oh no, that's not real acting. Like, I was this from this old school. But then I grew to love it. Like I realized, like, okay, this is a different concept every time. It's different people you're working with every time. It's a different target audience. It's a different demographic. And I started to really enjoy and like really get into voice work, like voiceover advertising. And that makes up a big chunk of my salary now and helps pay the bills. So I'm happy that kind of came to be that way. So hope I'm not rambling on. That's just
No. This is about you. So as far as, on the voice acting side, for those who get into the business, what is your recommendation for finding a coach? Because a lot of us voice actors, we'll get bombarded with coaches reaching out to us saying, hey, I'd love to be your coach. I can do something great for you. What is your recommendation to those getting into this business? How you found the right coach?
Well, I guess someone who you want to look at their roster, like who they've already worked with, is important. Have they done a lot of work themselves, or have they worked with people that have done a lot of work as well? I guess that would be, step one. And
Right.
then it's like anything else, like a therapist, like a hairdresser. Like I would want to test out a few, maybe book one session with one, see how it goes, see how you guys get along, if you're speaking the same language, and then take it from there. But don't sign up. Like, I know a lot of us are super like enthusiastic and we really want to do this, and we're like, whatever it takes. So we'll sign a year contract with a coach that you've never even tried. And that's not maybe the best, not that they're not a great coach, but they might not be the right coach for you at your specific point. I know some coaches that only work with intermediate, some only work with beginners. So you want to test them out, test the waters first. Definitely.
Absolutely. And so what's a dream role that you would love to play? You've been on screen and you've done the voice acting. What's like a dream role that you want to do?
I like, I've done a lot of military roles, which are cool. Like when you're doing mocap and full performance capture with all the gear and everything. But I really do I come from a martial arts background. So I would like to do anything that's martial arts or like medieval swords, shields, epic fighting dragons, that kind of stuff. Like really raw, Viking, that kind of thing. That's
so with your martial art movie. I heard the interview yesterday with Joe. They brought the movie up and all that. Have you taken a shot to the face, like doing like martial arts? Like, have you taken like somebody actually punch you pretty good? Because I hear like Rocky, was it Rocky 4? Stallone got hit in the chest by Dolph Lundgren, got hit in the chest and messed him up. Have you ever like took a shot to the face or like chest or something like that doing those movies?
Yeah, yeah, a few times. One time was that martial arts movie, and Matt Frewer plays the lead villain, right? He plays the guy I'm up against. Right. And I don't know if you know Matt Frewer in real life. He's a pretty big guy. Like he looks thin, right? Yeah. But he's like, I don't know, 6'4" or something. Like he's very tall and intimidating. So at one point, it's my fault. He was talking to the director and we're blocking the fight scene. And he's like, okay, but when I turn around and I give him the back fist, and maybe I shouldn't have been there, but I was like right behind him listening to the conversation, and he just clocks me right in the face. I drop to the ground, and it's like, so I was the lead in that, and they're like, oh my God, he's gonna have a black eye. So they came with I think it was compressed air. Yeah. They like turned it upside down so it was cold, and they just like sprayed my eye with it, and then they put an ice pack, and he was so nice. He was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. And I think he bought me like a massage that night to like make up for it. He's like, you must be sore and everything. And so, yeah, he was, yeah. That
is awesome. And so preparing for Assassin's Creed, tell us about that process. I mean, I still remember that commercial for that game. What was that process like?
That was cool because there's such a tie to like the first one I did was AC2. So I played an Italian banker, Bernardo Baroncelli. But in the third one, I was this character, Mason Weems, and he's so passionate about George Washington and about the cause and about the revolution. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. So like I kind of got into and I'm a huge like Hamilton fan. It's on my playlist. I listen to it when I drive my son to school. He knows all the words from the songs that are appropriate. And so like I'm all into that. And then in Rogue, I got to play George Washington young. So I was like, oh, this is like so cool because it's kind of like that character was like in preparation to play this character. Mm-hmm. And on that series, we got to see the tech for the mocap evolve, because AC3 was still like, I think it's over 10 years ago now. So the tech wasn't as good as it is now for capture. It was still good, but they had some, it was tight on the head. It was like a vice grip and whatever. So yeah.
So one thing I want to know, on-screen voice actor, which one do you prefer? Which one do you like get more excited about? I know you like them both, but what do you get more excited about?
I guess it depends on the role, but I really enjoy voice because you can laser focus. Like there's no, like I said at the beginning, like we have two screens going right now and I'm already like
it's pretty cool, right? It's pretty cool. It's like all over.
Yeah. So, but with voice, it's a dark room and you can laser focus in on your performance, and no one's worrying. You're not worrying about you're hitting your mark, your light, what your face looks like even. And you can play different roles that you don't look like at all. Like you get typecast for what you look like, but in voice, as long as you can change your voice, then you can play anything pretty much. So
now, as far as people getting into the industry, I was talking to Tanisha Collins the other day. She's in the #1 hit movie, Fatherhood. We're talking about her being in Canada, and there's a lot of Canadians that are coming on big screen, and they don't have to live in LA. How does that work for you? I mean, what's the audition process for you being in Montreal? How does that work for you with the audition? Is it mostly your agents, or are you doing the marketing yourself?
Yeah. So I for a long time I would just send self tapes, and that was the only kind of outreach that I would do. I think like a lot of actors, but in the last year or so, I got a publicist in LA and a manager also in LA, and they help also to sell and to keep a finger on the pulse and to see, just to kind of offer guidance as to where I should be, where I need to be, and we speak regularly. We have it's like a team, and I think that's so important to build a team of like not only other creatives that are doing the same thing as you that you can feed off of, and you can ask questions, and I've had this idea, because it's so easy to get tunnel vision. I was talking to my manager about this. Like, it's so easy to, you get the audition, you focus on the audition, you do the best you can, and then you put it aside and you go about something else. But it's so important to get everyone else's opinions as to what's going on in the industry. The business is so big. Like, there's the gaming industry itself is huge, and that's its own thing. And then you have film and television, and then what's going on with streaming, with the streaming wars right now, and like major acquisitions, Amazon of MGM, and the landscape is changing so rapidly that I think it's important to be constantly, talking to other people in the business and understanding what's happening. And it can be frustrating, but I think it's also super exciting, like what's going on right now. The opportunities are just opening up everywhere. So yeah.
So I'm talking to those voice actors that don't have agents. I'd landed my second one this year, and I was thinking that, just because you get an agent, you're going to get a lot of gigs, and that's not the case. It's still, you have to market yourself as well. What are some marketing tips you have for those getting into the industry? How you market yourself? Some people do it on LinkedIn. What do you do specifically to land some business for your voiceover business?
I think social media is huge. I think like we said, there's voiceover contests on TikTok and on Instagram that people can hone their skills so they can practice. It's free practice. It's like, this is great. And then also to display what you're able to do, and you build a following, and people will notice that, and you can outreach through social media. I've made a lot of connections through social media only, not traditional email and phone call. Like, that has its place as well, but a lot of contacts have been made through social media. So I think that's a great starting point to just practice, just stay sharp,
Absolutely. And if some of your Instagram viewers have some questions, be sure to throw those out if you guys want to ask them the questions. I'm multitasking here, so I'd love to read some of your questions if you have some for them. Going to the next question. So, as voice actors in video games, there's a lot of screaming. My coach, we go over things, how to keep your throat fresh. For those big roles you have in video games, how do you keep from losing your voice? I've had a script that was 500 words, and I had to do a game show, hyperactive, for a commercial. And I got to a point where I froze. I'm like, yeah. and you panic because it's due when it's due. There's no, hey, I lost my voice. What do you do to prepare yourself for those screaming games or those big time using your voice projects?
Yeah, it's happened to me too, by the way. So don't feel bad. I think it's happened to everyone. You just freeze. You're like, I'm done. You lose it, and then there's nothing to. So I think it's a twofold approach, two-pronged approach, double-edged sword. I'm going for metaphors right now.
No, it's fine. No, that's perfect.
He's like, just get to it.
No, it's fine. No, you're fine.
So, yeah, I think like one is to conserve your energy in the session. So if they offer you that 5-minute break, take it. Don't say, I mean, unless you know you can definitely get through it, but I would take it. I'd say, okay, yeah, and then have a sip of water, because once it's shot, it's shot. There's no like coming back when it really gets shot from that screaming and stuff. So take a little break, go back, take a little break, go back. Sip water the whole time, whether you're thirsty or not. And if that means you have to go to the washroom a few times during the session, just ask to go, because whatever, it's just keep the your throat lubricated. You also need to drink water leading up to the session. So those are all the things to preserve your voice in the session. But there's this, I do feel like there's this misconception that you have to save your voice when you're not doing your voice work. Whereas that's a delicate balance, because I've done that and I find that it starts to atrophy. It's like your muscles, right? An athlete leading up to the Olympics doesn't not train for a month before the Olympics, right? They're going to be stiff and it's not going to work. And so the same thing, you need to work your voice regularly, work your voice, give it rest, work your voice, give it rest. And then it will learn, you'll build those muscles and that stamina to be able to do the 4, 6, 8 hour sessions. Yes, the day before, maybe take a day off, but don't take the week off and not speak. Unless you've taken a vow of silence or something. That's just my opinion. So.
That's a great advice. And as a voice actor, we all wake up every morning. I wake up extra early. Sometimes I think I make myself work harder than I should. You know, I've talked to Melissa Medina. She was like, you know, she gave some great advice. Make this a business. Shut it off at a certain time, because you can get burnt out. What 100%. Is it about this job you think that we have so much passion? Why do we do this? And why, like, we'll work 1,000,000 hours? What is it that makes you want to keep working all day with this job?
I think it's stimulating. It's extremely stimulating, because every day there's a bit of unknown. You don't know what role you're going to go in for. You don't know what they want. You don't know what it's like going to be like on the other end. So there's that sense of discovery. It's also rewarding in the sense that every job is problem solving, and it's complex problem solving. You know, you have to listen. You have to be very attentive and really, really in the moment. And I think those are all great things that we should all do anyway. And it's addictive to want to do that. So I think that's why. And then there's ambition. I mean, everybody has a different level of ambition, but it's a very exciting industry. It's booming. And so everybody wants to accomplish their goals and move forward. But yeah, I get caught up in it too. I'm gonna be on my phone and I'm just going to relax for a bit. And then I'm sending emails and I'm contacting people, and I'm like, okay, no, turn it off. So I started Sundays. Sunday was like, I had the 4-hour window where I would leave my phone completely away, and I would just read. I would either read a magazine, be super present, leave even my Apple Watch, put everything away. And that's something, have you seen Arianna Huffington talk about this at all?
No, I've not seen that one.
Okay, so she has like Thrive Global and the Huffington Post, but she has this whole thing about, you know, you put your phone to bed at night, and it's this funny little thing, but it's a mahogany desk, it's a mahogany bed that you put your phone in, and there's a little sheet, and you say good night phone, and you put it away.
I like that. That's a good idea. Yeah, I know sometimes my family's probably like, put the phone away. I am guilty of that sometimes, where, you know, I'll have a bunch of auditions come in. I'm working on a podcast episode, and I got to start making work-life balance more real than what I do. So
it's hard though. It's hard because you get an idea and you're like, oh, that would be so cool. And it's almost harder when you love your job, because it's fun. It's not just like, something that you have to do. We love it, right? So it's
absolutely. Now, you do this every week or a couple of days a week. You have your Instagram Live. I have the podcast. And we talked before the show. We talked how this community all work together. Voice actors, we all support one another. We all praise positivity, be kind. But we also praise honesty. Getting into this business, it can be brutal. You could get your feelings hurt. You can just really find out what it's about when you go for an audition that you really want and been told wasn't good. Work harder. And some people can take it, some people cannot. What advice would you give to those to deal with it? What would you, because I'm sure we've all dealt with it. What would you tell them to get over the bad days?
yeah, it's easier said than done. So realize that even the people, like, I'm gonna say it and I'm gonna give this advice as if I've conquered this, but I haven't even conquered it myself. It's a constant struggle every day. There's rejection involved. I did screenwriting too, and I do on-screen acting, and it's just the nature of this business. There's rejection involved. If you're lucky, it's going to be 1 out of 10 that you get. So that's 90% of the time. If you're lucky, that it is rejection. So try to make a conscious decision right off the bat that, well, if I get crushed every time I get rejected, it's not sustainable, because 90% of it is rejection. So if I let myself get crushed and take the rejection personally every single time, you're not going to have that joy and that passion that we were talking about to keep moving forward. Realize that they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting your voice for this role or your take on this role. It's not a comment on who you are as a person. You are not your work. So yeah, and have something else that you're also passionate about, that you like to do, whether it's for money or not. Ideally, you want to monetize the things you love, which that's great. But have something else so that when you're faced with like a ton of rejection at a time, you can go, okay, that's fine, and then focus on something else for a bit and come back to it. Because yeah, I mean, what are the odds of a football team winning the Super Bowl, right? They're not winning every year, but they try every year. And you have to kind of let those, you lost. And you keep going, and you keep trying. And also, I think to realize that once you take the weight off every audition, because I came to the realization that no one job is going to make your career. It's not like that is the narrative a lot of times in the press. It's, you're going to get this one job and that's going to be the make or break. Those are very few. And usually what more happens more times than not, it's a bunch of little jobs that build up to a big career. So when you realize that one that you lost is not the one that would have made it, and now that you didn't get it, you're not going to have a career, and just take that narrative and throw it in the garbage, because it's not true.
Right.
But it's reminding yourself every day. It's easy to say it, but then it's every day to remember, like, you got to bring it home. It's true. That's, So.
I love it. So this is a part of the show where I do the audition challenge.
Okay. I'm ready.
You ready?
If you're ready, but you want to take, is there any questions from the audience?
Nothing yet. All right.
Okay, cool.
So go ahead and take it away. Let's go.
The game of the year is here, and this one requires no distractions. You have to have the mind of a jungle cat, the moves like Jagger, and yes, musicality. This fall, Disco Ball Games brings you The Hustle, the new game that teaches you moves your parents wish they knew in the 70s. The Hustle, coming soon.
Yes. Isn't that great? I love it.
What's that?
That's awesome. Oh my goodness. So a question is, do you speak French?
Oh, is that Rosie? Yeah, Rosie always asks, do you speak French? She knows that I do. I think she's asking if you do. Do you speak French?
Oh, no. Can you do this copy in French? You want to try it in French?
Oh my gosh. I could try to translate it on the spot, but okay.
All right, that'd be kind of fun. All right. So now we're going to do audition challenge. Todd's going to do it in French. Go ahead and take it away.
Now I'm going to do it in the French Quebecois announcer voice that you may not have heard. Okay. It's a little bit like, I'll just do it and you can hear what the, it's weird. Like it's like that DJ voice, it's like it only exists in Quebec as an announcer here in this province, but it's kind of like this. Okay. So it's like, le jeu de l'année est arrivé. Et celui-là ne prend aucune distraction. Il faut avoir le cerveau. I can't even do it. I can't.
That is awesome. But it sounded kind of cool, Wednesdays, 9 to 11, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know what you're saying. That sounded totally like it. Traffic on Friday. Horrible. Bumper to bumper. Yeah, I totally get it. That's awesome. So before we end the show, and again, thank you so much for doing this. This has been a blast doing Instagram Live as well as doing this.
Thank you.
So I start tomorrow. I'm a voice actor. There's pay to play. There's freelance websites. There's everything out there to become a voice actor. What's the first thing you're going to do to get into this world of voice acting?
Take it slow down. Realize you don't have to nab all the top clients right away. You don't need an agent immediately. listen to, like, go around the voiceover community, listen to the voice demos of the people that are working, and then work on creating a demo like that, where you're demonstrating the best parts of your voice. Really laser in on your demo, make it amazing, and then research. Send your demo and your query letters to agents, producers, advertising agencies, video game company, casting departments, but only once you're really happy with your demo. Also, if you're doing something already right now, don't necessarily like just stop it right away, in order, like, because the transition will take time. Just like anything, it takes time to build a business. It takes time to build a career. Plus, it's not like you get like 20 clients at once. You get 1, 2, 3, and the third one becomes a recurring one, and then you get a fourth, a fifth one's also a recurring one. Now you got 2 recurring ones plus the new ones, and then eventually you have a bunch of recurring ones, and then now you've built up some residual payments that are coming in from jobs you did before. Eventually you can make a living doing it, but it takes a while to get to that point.
Absolutely. And to piggyback off that, for the first things that I've learned, you probably would agree, everybody wants to do animation, everybody wants to do video games, everybody wants to do this. You will eventually find your niche. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
While pursuing what you really want to do. It's kind of funny. When I first started doing it, I was like, I'm going to do video games. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I ended up doing more e-learning than I've ever done in my life, and some from big clients. So I would say also, for those out there, if something big comes your way and you're good at it, go with that.
100%. Well, I 100% agree. And I wanted to, just what you said made me think, if you get a job that you don't particularly like and you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, because that happens. Think of it as, well, this is free practice. And there's actually no way to pay for this lesson. Right. Like you can't pay someone to give you that experience. So take the job, do the job, learn what you can, and treat it as a voice acting lesson or a coaching session. And you'll learn a lot more from there.
Absolutely. And I'm going to go over this one question before I let you go. It looks like when writing copy, do you already have an idea of a voice in your head? So when I wrote this copy, like I was telling Todd, I'm into nostalgic things. I'm obsessed with 80s movies. I love, I just finished Stranger Things, and it was something I didn't think I thought it was going to be corny, but it's actually probably one of the best written shows and amazing shows I've seen in a while on Netflix. So I've been stuck on nostalgic. With the guests, I want them to use any voice they want, but professionals like yourself, you guys, you just know it when you see it. Wouldn't you agree? When you see copy, you're like, this is a voice I'm going to do.
Yeah, you can tell when it's shorter sentences. I don't know if this is getting too into the craft, but when it's the game of the year is here, like that's not a long run-on sentence. That's a statement. The game of the year is here. Like you really have to bite into that sentence. And then as it goes longer, that's something I do instinctually. You just look and see how long the sentences are and how to shape them, kind of.
Absolutely. So you probably write your own copy too, because a lot of voice actors, I would give advice to learn how to write copy, because you always got to be creating content. ABC, I would say, always be creating content, stuff like that. But wouldn't you agree to practice writing your own copy as well?
For sure, because it helps you find your own voice, and it'll also help you in the room. There's a very subtle way to help the copywriter if you're in a room without feeling like you're overstepping or you're taking their job. But they will, if they're having trouble, like, and you can see they're going back and forth, you can ask, can I propose something? Like I do feel like, and most of the times they will love your feedback, because they're like, you're the one saying it, so try to, but don't, if you notice a mistake or something, like, don't be overbearing with it, because that is their job and you're doing your job. So that's a touchy thing, but it is worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say be yourself too, because a lot of people try to be like somebody else. Like and voice actors and people know, if you're trying to be like somebody else, they're going to be like, well, that person already does it, so don't do that. So
yes. Yeah, exactly.
Well, man,
we're such a supportive community. I mean, the on-screen community is too, but I really do feel like in voiceover, everyone's just like rooting for everyone else. We're all just like, yeah, go get it. Like,
absolutely. We got to do this again. This has been a blast. And everybody I talked to, I think before the show, we all talk like we've known each other for many years. And for those making a podcast, my advice to those, because I've talked to people, be yourself, have fun with it, and roll with it. Because this podcast has taught me a lot. and I'm meeting amazing people. It's making me a better voice actor. It's making me a better person because I get to see what it's really like on the other side. So you are a rock star, man. Thank you so much for being on Behind the Audition podcast.
You too. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. We definitely have to do this again. And everybody, please go check out Behind the Audition on Instagram and his podcast.
Absolutely. And Tod Fennell, he does his streaming shows. How many, you do like what, 2-3 times a week, right?
I overbooked myself last week. I did like 2 a day, but yeah, I'm going to be doing 2 or 3 a week, every week during the week, usually around noon or 11 Eastern time.
We should like do a show together with a guest, like pick somebody fun to just have fun with them and just go with it. So we should do that sometime because we both do this. I think it'd be a ball.
Yeah, because you can bring 3 people in here now, right?
Yeah.
They changed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally.
So,
sounds good.
So for those who want us, if you have anybody in mind, let us know. We'll have fun. But the one and only Tod Fennell, thank you so much for being on the Behind the Audition podcast. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, man.
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much.
For more information about Tod Fennell, be sure to check out his website at todfennell.com.
Thanks for listening in on Behind the Audition podcast, made possible by Hilton Productions. If you need a male or female voiceover, contact us at hiltonproductions.com. Hilton Productions, let our voices do the selling.